Merry freak off Christmas.
They're viewing battery.
It's like eating a dirt sandwich.
What is being done to these women?
Two words come to mind: freaky perv.
Are they being sodomized? Are they being chained in compromising positions? Are they so out of it they don't know what's happening to them? Are they being whipped?
I just want to wash my mouth out with Listerine, with Lysol, with rubbing alcohol. Diddy Stakes Exhibit XXX. Tisa, you've got to explain how the jury reacted when they got to see States Exhibit XXX. The freak off videos.
They were disgusted. One juror had to look away. We heard faint moans, faint murmurings, okay? And again, they turned off all audio to the gallery. It was that loud. Some of them were leaned in. One had to turn their head away in disgust. They were up, they were attentive, they were taking notes, and they were puzzled by what they were seeing. It was a really, really weird moment, but you know what? It had to be done.
Some of the jurors looked disgusted. Some of them turned away. I understand that some of them winced, that one juror was looking through their hands. I want to find out, were they male jurors or female jurors that had this reaction?
The female jurors actually looked away in disgust. Not all, but some looked away in disgust. The males, interesting enough, were leaning forward, wincing, going back, rubbing their heads. Whatever they were seeing on those screens, because we were not privy, it was shaking everyone.
So even though the jurors had a secret screen to look at and they had on earphones, you could still hear the moaning and the groaning from the video.
We were actually in the courtroom. You could hear faint moaning, faint talking, faint mumbling. Super disgusting. And oddly enough, Sean Combs, he's the one that later on requested that he have access to watch the freak-off tapes in the back.
What can you do? The jury is watching you butt naked, or maybe he had a burqa on, or maybe hearing him directing everybody else, and they're all looking over at him. What can he do? What did he do?
I'll tell you what he did. He actually looked like he was a little bit proud. He got a little step in that. He started moving around. He got this confidence to his actions. Nancy, I gotta tell you, I was there and I saw him. It seemed like he was proud of what the jurors saw. And I literally sat there and said, he hasn't learned a thing. If somehow he pulls out a not guilty verdict, he is going to be hell on wheels.
Okay, I don't like when you say if he's found not guilty, he's going to be hell on wheels, because I'm totally getting my car bombed. Like Kid Cudi. Yeah, there's no coming back from the itty bitty Diddy and the Diddy wand. I've got them all here. Yeah, he's going to come after me.
I know you don't like to hear about the not guilty. I do not think that the juror even has the evidence to even pull out a not guilty verdict, but we did hear that he is manifesting and he's probably doing blood ritual sacrifices on the rats and roaches in his jail cell. So who knows? We will see if manifestation is real, because I am sure he's doing everything he can to manifest a not guilty.
Okay, you know what you just said, Tisa Tells? And Sydney Sumner, you can back me up on this. When you said he's doing voodoo rituals, Santeria on the rats and roaches in his jail cell, there is actually evidence he did a voodoo ritual. I think it was in Central Park. I'm going to go back to Sydney Sumner on that. And a bird was involved. It's going to take more than voodoo rituals to pull this one out of his you-know-where.
You have the state looking forward sober. You have the jury like just disgusted, looking forward, looking away, flinching. And then you have Diddy in the middle of it like a rooster, proud of what he's done. That man has not learned a thing.
Okay, now that you said rooster, just in case you think I'm fabricating his whole voodoo ritual, you started this, Tease Tales, not me. You said it. Straight to Sydney Sumner. Wasn't it something to do with the nightclub shooting trial? What happened, Sydney?
So Combs was accused of having a gun illegally. He was put on trial. Rapper Shine Barrow claims he's the guy who took the fall for this, but it really was Diddy behind the trigger. And Combs apparently went to Central Park with some kind of religious man who was holding a Bible, burning sage, and asked Combs to release a white dove from a cage. And Diddy's former bodyguard, Gene Deal, claims that when Diddy pulled the bird from the cage and threw it into the air, it didn't fly, it was dead. And later that day, he was acquitted of all charges.
The poor bird sacrificed its life in exchange for a not guilty. Okay, Sydney, thank you for that legal update. Straight out to Greg Morse joining me, veteran trial lawyer, criminal defense attorney at Morse Legal. Morse, when the jury is wincing and hiding behind their hands, watching videos of your client, there's really nowhere to hide.
It's not unexpected. The defense was probably on some level bored because they knew this was coming in. But it's just like autopsy photos. It's horrible stuff.
You know
it
what?
doesn't
Hold
mean your
on.
client's guilty.
New York Control Room, I think there's something wrong with my IFB because I'm pretty sure I heard Greg Morse state that while watching a forced orgy where women are wincing and hiding their eyes, that Morse said it was probably boring. So they're obviously I'm not hearing correctly. Could you
added the
state
word
whatever
force.
that was you said again?
Sure, you added the word force. So let's talk about the evidence in the case.
Yeah, I did.
They watched a video. All of the videos are introduced so the jury, when they're deliberating, can watch them all. The defense was ready for this. They knew this was coming in. There's nothing they can do about it. It's a video. Their argument is this is consensual. And you mentioned the Punisher in one of the videos. You better believe in closing, the defense is going to go back to the Punisher's testimony about how consensual this was with Cassie and how their relationship was fine and nothing forced. Listen, you're asking regular people to watch some pretty aggressive amateur porn. That's always shocking. They are going to wince and turn away just like they would if they were watching something like that at home, not in a criminal case. But it doesn't mean he's going to be found guilty of the sex trafficking. It doesn't mean it was forced fraud or coercion. They knew this was coming in, and it is what it is. And Diddy probably wanted to watch it afterwards because the man's in jail. He doesn't see naked women very much, is my guess.
I suspect some of the jurors feel the same way because when they were watching the State's Exhibit XXX, the freak-off videos, they were actually turning away from the monitor, wincing visibly, hiding their faces. Do you blame them? But now, Merry Freak-Off Christmas. Dr. Bethany Marshall, again, I need a shrink and a drink. You want to celebrate a late Christmas with me? With a 4-man freak-off? In other words, you have sex with 4 sex workers?
You know, Nancy, I hear somebody who's compulsive and addicted. In terms of compulsivity, one of the things we know about sex addiction is that thoughts of sex, or whatever the fetishized view of sex is, become so prominent in the perpetrator's mind, they often can't focus. Often they can't even hold down a job, or they present as somebody with attention deficit disorder because their mind keeps drifting to sex. There's so much drugs involved. And I hear in the testimony that he'll say, I'll be up for 24 hours or 48 hours. And to me, Nancy, I think methamphetamine, that's the one drug that could keep somebody up for that many days. We know with methamphetamine, especially in homicide, there's often overkill. So if he already likes power and violence and he's on meth, that's even going to ratchet it up a level. And Nancy, real quickly, the jurors wincing. Wincing is an instinctual response to loss of life. It's like seeing a plane fall out of the sky, or a big dog barking, or a spider, or someone ejected from a car. If they are wincing, they're not just viewing sex, they're viewing battery. What is being done to these women? Are they being sodomized? Are they being chained in compromising positions? Are they so out of it they don't know what's happening to them? Are they being whipped? I would be so curious to know, what are they seeing that is life-threatening?
The way you just said that, Dr. Bethany, it's overwhelming because those videos are placing the jurors at the freak-offs. Diddy speaking in code. Wow, it took me a full 5 seconds to crack that. The text messages that he sends all sorts of people include code words. You don't need the code breakers at Bletchley Square to figure this out. Brian Fitzgibbons, really. Here we've got Combs referring to cowboys. The sex workers work for the Cowboys and Angels sex service, so he would refer to them as cowboys in the code. He also refers to hotel night and freak-offs. I've got a lot more. How dumb are these people?
Not a very sophisticated code here. As you said, it's not going to require British intelligence to crack this one.
You know what? I think it goes a little bit further than that, Fitzgibbons. I think it's arrogance. You are running a criminal enterprise where you have... Oh, by the way, Fitzgibbons, let me just throw this in. The 5th person, I think it's 5, I'm losing count, has just gotten immunity. It's Brandon Paul, who I think is the drug mule. I wondered when he got a cheap plea, I'm like, whoa, they got him coming off a plane with a satchel full of dope, and he's got a light deal. Why? He must be going to testify, and sure enough, he just got immunity. Speaking of, 5 minions, as I call them. Some were employees, some were loosely associated, like this guy, Brandon Paul, wasn't an employee on the payroll, but he was doing Combs' bidding, carrying his dope, according to prosecutors. 5 have taken immunity. He's got all of them talking back and forth in code. There he is. What a fine fellow. I hope he can sing really well on the stand. Gee, I wonder what green is, Fitzgibbons. Money?
These texts and this evidence that they're presenting to the jurors is something that we talked about right at the beginning of this case, that the prosecution is going to show the organizational structure and the delegation of tasks coming directly from Diddy. It's all laying a tremendous foundation for that RICO charge.